We usher in February with a slew of new esports and gaming content on this week's all-new edition of State Champs Esports. Hello, I'm Candace, and thank you for joining us this week. As usual, there's tons of stuff to get to, including Week 2 Overwatch highlights from our tournament. We also have Harez back with another game review. Kevin gets the lowdown on the powerhouse Dakota High School esports team, and we meet a video game-inspired artist. Get ready for all that and a whole lot more. Let's kick off the show with some love for our sponsors. The support from Lawrence Tech and Hungry Howie's allows us to bring you not only this show, but also all of our tournaments and our brand new podcast, Gamers Unlimited. Our weekly podcast is an entertaining mix of esports and gaming interviews, so please listen, subscribe, and tell all your friends about it. Last week, the teams were clustered together, but with Week 2 of competition in the books, we are beginning to see some schools starting to pull ahead. Melvindale's varsity team and Macomb Dakota are both tied for first at 2-0. There is a three-way tie for second between Detroit Catholic Central's JV squad and Melvindale's JV and club teams. Rounding out the Week 2 standings are Loy Norrick's Baraga and Catholic Central's varsity team, who all come in at one loss and one tie. Here's Ethan with a breakdown of a pair of recent matches.
I'm Ethan, and let's take a look at some Overwatch highlights for Week 2 of our State Champs Tournament. Starting off with Dakota and Melvindale, check out this sneaky Hammond flank on Li Jing, and that will put Dakota up 1-0. And on map 2, Dakota would turn up the heat. Watch Hidden Hippo help them get a team wipe here on the first point of King's Row, and they go up 2-0. Next, let's dial up the squid again for some high energy Zarya action. Who doesn't love seeing her frag out at 100 charge? Finally, on Rialto. In my experience, getting pinned and hooked on Ryan is a bad thing, but Dakota even managed to make that look good as they finished off the match 4-0. Now, let's see Melvindale JV taking on Baraga. It was down to the wire, starting off on Anubis, where a big Hammond ult came out from Melvindale, but Baraga would answer back with ults of their own, and Anubis would be a draw. Then, on map 2, watch this awesome Sigma play of the game. Coming down out of his own ult, he shut down the soldier's tac visor, then pick up Rhine, and Melvindale would go up a map. But Baraga was ready to respond on Dorado, getting some revenge for a soldier ult that more than made up for the first, and they would tie up the series 1-1 And so it would all come down to the last map, and it took a team effort, but in the end, Melvindale came away victorious, winning the match against Baraga.
Great job as always, Ethan. Thank you. And now let's take a quick break from the esports action and check out the cult following that has built up around the world of Minecraft animations.
Hello everyone, this is your boy Bruno. Last time I was on the show, I was talking about Roblox. And this time, I'm going to be talking about something that I'm absolutely obsessed with. Minecraft animations. Minecraft is a video game that was made back in 2011, and I was only 2. Minecraft was one of the first video games I've ever played, and why I liked it and played it so much is because of how creative you could be in the game. You could build anything you imagined, and you could just express all your feelings right in that one video game. Since Minecraft had such a basic animation style, it was so easy for other animators to just copy off of it. Five Nights at Freddy's got merged into the animation system like Minecraft animation style because Five Nights at Freddy's and Minecraft were both really popular games that people started to merge them. Some really popular Minecraft animators out there are, for example, Captain Sparkles, Enchanted Mob, and Zamination. Captain Sparkles has over 2 million subscribers. Same with Enchanted Mob. Enchanted Mob's most popular video has over 100 million views. Same with Zamination and Captain Sparkles. During the pandemic, I didn't really have anything much to do besides play video games. So I decided to animate because that was literally the only other thing that I could do during the pandemic. Blender is an animation app that you can literally do anything. You can add effects like water, smoke, fire. When I started animating, I used some other people's models such as the Zamination V4 rig. And now I'm just making my own models. We go into the mouth, we got a tongue. So this is my rig. We got the eyes that move around. You even got the mouth. And a normal Minecraft character can't usually do this, so this is pretty advanced. And something I've been waiting to say this whole time, my channel is Bromation, so go and subscribe right now.
We've spotlighted Scott Pilgrim a couple of times on the show over the past year. So I'm sure you can probably imagine how excited at least some of us were when Harez suggested reviewing the re-release. Let's take a look.
I was really excited for this one, guys. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the game, the complete edition, came out on January 14th to ecstatic and nostalgic fans like myself. I used to play this game all the time with my siblings back on the PS3. So to see a report was coming out, I could not wait. For anyone who didn't play the first game, the game is based off of the movie and the comic Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, taking place in the land of Poutine and Moose, Toronto, Ontario, Canada. The story follows Scott Pilgrim, a rough and tumble type dude fighting people, living his life until he meets Ramona Flowers. They fall in love, but he can't date her until he defeats her 7 evil exes. What follows is a hilarious, heavily video game inspired adventure with some touching moments. The game follows this, leaning more towards the comic, which does vary slightly, but it's not afraid to take some liberties like fighting zombies and an anti-Scott and even a giant mech. You can choose between a whole cast of characters, including 2 new ones, Knives and Wallace, that all level up individually. The controls line up with most fighting games, like Double Dragon or Streets of Rage. Movement, a light attack, heavy attack, guard, super, and assist buttons. The lights and the heavies can be mixed up, but you can unlock some pretty flashy combos as you level up with XP from beating baddies and finishing levels. You fight through each level, inspired by areas in the source material, and you usually fight a big boss, one of the evil X's, at the end. Combat is fun, but definitely challenging. Large crowds and big health pools for enemies make for some pretty tough fights, which makes it even more satisfying when you beat them. The combat can be a bit clunky, however. Some attacks miss or can bug out, which results in you getting wailed on by a crowd. I played through this when I was a kid with my siblings, and currently, as you're seeing, with my friend. It's really fun, but sometimes really feels needed, as some of the later levels can be really challenging on their own. But there's something super satisfying about you and up to 3 other buddies juggling a boss that's supposed to be hard. The reboot stays pretty loyal to the game, not changing anything. Unfortunately, that also applies to original bugs and issues. Occasional crashes after KOing bosses, crashes in Ubisoft's server when playing online, and as you can see here, my friend and I getting soft-locked on this stage. We weren't able to progress, so we had to wipe out all of our lives just to get a rerun in. It also adds some new game modes, Boss Rush, Battle Royale, Survival Horror, and Dodgeball. They're nothing really to write home about, but they're fun additions to play once you've knocked out the story. The pixel-based visuals and loads of video game references really drive the nostalgia factor while playing it. With smooth animation, retro pixel art style, and some truly fantastic level designs, this is great on the eyes of returning fans and even new ones. And the music, oh man, the music. An original chiptune soundtrack by Anamanaguchi really drives home that gamer feel. From arcade blasting music to pixelated alternative rock, the original soundtrack has a little bit for everyone. I could gush on and on about this game, but let me just summarize by saying this game will be just like how old fans remember it and has plenty for the new fans to love. While there are a few troublesome issues, they don't pop up often enough to really spoil the fun. This classic is a must-buy in my book.
For our next segment, we visited a historic Detroit location and met a man who combines his childhood love of gaming with fine art.
We're actually in a pretty historic place. So this is the Henry Ford's Boston Edison home, and this is actually the original car wash of the original Model T. I've been lucky enough to work out of this space for the last couple of years. For me, gaming has always been this huge outlet where I can just get completely lost in my imagination, and that's always been like such a driving force in my art, was just that I've always been a daydreamer and I would just love to get lost in my imagination. And so making like video game art for me is really tapping into those kind of old memories of just getting, playing for 5 or 6 hours in a row and just like getting so lost in the story of the game. So I feel really privileged, especially with video game art, to be able to bring back those kind of memories. I love making custom art for people. That's really my favorite way to work. And so like this piece in particular was a childhood friend. We had reconnected and he found out that I made art for a living, and he said, I really want you to just create a memory of like our childhood. Because I knew that his favorite ice cream was the strawberry shortcake. And so I put those two together to just try to just for him personally, to bring back this warm feeling of playing video games in the summer. Best place to contact me is through my Instagram. And on Instagram, I'm tall_Greg_art. So tall Greg art.
It's time for our last segment, which features the educator behind the successful esports team currently competing in our Overwatch tournament.
What's going on, State Champs Esports Nation? Kevin here, and joining me today is Vincenzo Bailey, head coach of Dakota Esports. Vincenzo, thanks for being here. And tell the listeners and viewers out there a little bit about yourself.
Hi, thank you for having me on your show. It's great to have this opportunity. I'm an English teacher at Dakota High School. I've been teaching there for 10 years. And, I love video games, and, my involvement in esports kind of fell into my lap accidentally. A few students, actually, a few years ago when Lawrence Tech and State Champs began their League of Legends tournaments, some kids at my school had heard about it, and they came to me. I was running the game club at the time, which was mostly a D&D, Magic the Gathering type of club. And then they were like, hey, can we do this? I had no idea. I had never even played League of Legends. I was like, sure, let's do it. And here we are. And I've been hooked at League of Legends, and I've gone through some of the emotions with those games. And, and because of all that journey, here I am. It became one of those things where now I basically have a cut sport where I can only have, not everyone can be on the team and things of that nature. I mean, it evolved really fast. And in the past year, the growth, possibly because of the quarantine situation, the growth has been exponential.
How important is it for esports programs to be considered tool for, the high school students at the level that, that they're at?
Esports, the whole thing is just an incredible opportunity as a teacher watching these kids and listening to them. Even if you don't play the games yourself, as a coach, you go on and you listen to these kids play Valorant. You hear them having fun. You hear them constantly communicating, being, really good sports with each other, swapping in other players, because they want everyone to play. The captain making decisions for roster lineups for a given week, and the amount of, they have to devote a lot of time to each other. They have to devote a lot of time to their schedule, and that was one of the things we had to kind of learn the hard way, is that this is, when kids sign up for an esport, it's you have to be dedicated and committed to each other, and these kids learn that. So you're going to find that a lot of your kids who are playing these games they have higher reading skills in a lot of cases. They have good vocabulary skills. They're learning good communication skills. As I've seen some of these kids over the last couple of years, I've seen them grow up a lot and acquire more confidence in themselves.
So how do you convince parents to let their kids play?
So I haven't really had to do much of the salesmanship. And they like the fact that their kids are really happy and excited, and they see esports. They know that it's growing. They're seeing things about it on the news and social media, even if you don't know a lot about it, you know that it's a thing that exists and kids are involved in it.
What's your your opinion on the future?
I'm sure eventually the state of Michigan's athletic association will finally say, all right, yeah, it's a sport. I think that's going to happen in the very near future. I think there needs to be there need to be grants or some kind of funding has to start coming out from the state to begin supporting this as an organized sport and starting programs. I think they should be starting programs in a lot of different schools. And I think that has to involve compensation for people who do it. Now, every district is different, but I'm going to tell you that most school districts aren't going to be paying an esports coach anytime soon. And I'm not going to compare myself to a football coach or anything like that because I know what they go through, and they go through a lot. And I'm not, I'm not at that level. But I'm going to say to you that at some point it's going to be too much. It's going to be too much for me, or it's going to be too much for someone else because this is only getting bigger. So am I going to be saying no to kids? We have 10 games going. Now we have game 11. No, we can't do it. And that's hard to do. That is so hard to say no to a kid.
Before we wrap up the show, we have some updates to our upcoming League of Legends tournament. We've moved up the start date a week to March 22nd to give the teams a little more competition time. We can also announce that our returning champions from Birmingham United Legacy are coming back to defend their title. Can they repeat, or will a new team emerge to take them down? So if you know any high school League of Legends players, please tell them to sign up their team for our 5th annual tournament at statechampsesports.net. For Kevin, Juarez, Ethan, and myself, we thank you for watching and hope you join us again next week. Game over, man.